We will need you after Carnival to do probably about 2 or 3 polls.
Okay.
You know that the last set of polls you
This
did just
is
before Labor
Antigua
Day,
Newsroom.
that the government was not threatened, but we had some weaknesses in about 2 seats. 2 were, or maybe 3. The 2 were like within the margin of error. And there was another one in which we were trailing. There's only 1 seat in which we're trailing. The other 2 are within the margin of error. And we have since gotten the candidates out. We know they're doing significantly better. Plus, at the time when the polls were done, the party was totally dormant compared to UPP that had peaked. So I want to remind you that, well, all of our listeners to that matter. So we have empirical evidence that we're winning. We recognize that the UPP came up with the usual push poll using this guy, Lindley Winter. He said that his polls were done sometime between February and March. Well, your polls, Peter, were done subsequently. And we believe in the veracity of your polls. You have shown to be accurate. We know that, it's not foolproof. We know that sometimes pollsters get it wrong. But again, we remain open in terms of the best time to call elections. We know at best it's months away, constitutional due March of next year. So if someone says that it'll be October, November, December, January, February, March, clearly they're not very far off. But clearly we're in that season now. And we have at least one set of polls now to do. So that if that opportunity arises in which they wait for March, then we'll deal with them accordingly.
All right. All right. Go ahead.
All right. No, I'm comfortable. As you said, I was happier when Prime Minister Brown makes reference to polling as opposed to me. In this business, the polls are the property of the client. I agree entirely that I have never been of the opinion recently that the Antigua Barbuda Labour Party government is threatened in any serious way. And that's still the position that I hold. But beyond that, any details is best that it came from.
This is Antigua Newsroom.
And let me make the case here too, Senator, that it is not in the strategic interest of the Labour Party to reveal the polls, information on the polls. I mean, all we do there is to probably spread them into action or maybe get them to focus on certain seats. We have to keep them in their ignorance. I mean, the only seat that we have not polled is Barbuda. But based on information on the ground in Barbuda, Barbuda is now coming into play. We want this famous land case, Peter, if you followed it.
This is
and what is happening economically in Barbuda. We have a company over there spending between 15 to 20 million US dollars weekly in a population with about, 1,200 people? So Barbuda is literally on fire right now. And this is no exaggeration, Peter. We actually have a shortage of skilled construction workers. In fact, I've been discussing with my colleagues in OECS if they can send us maybe a couple of hundred, masons and carpenters, because we just do not have the labor. We can't meet the labor requirements. Plus, we have 2 additional luxury properties to come and stream in Barbuda. But we have problem with labor. Even National Housing, which is operated by the government of Antigua and Barbuda, they have lost a significant amount of their even the laborers, the construction workers to PLH in Barbuda. A laborer in Barbuda is making $18 an hour. They get lunch, and they also provide them with accommodation for the 5 days a week, 6 days a week that is still in Barbuda.
All right.
A laborer.
All right, Peter.
All right.
Yes,
Carlos,
we want to thank you. We want to thank you so much, and
my pleasure.
I hope you realize, and we realize from your end, that you were not intimidated by the presence of the Prime Minister.
And Peter, I may just ask you this for clarity, that if I said anything about the polls that were inaccurate, that you would have corrected me?
Yes, I would have. I didn't hear anything that I disagreed with in terms of the actual, the hard data. As I said, there's a protocol in terms of the client is in a position to speak to that in a way that
precisely.
I'm comfortable with what I've heard.
Okay.
Again, we have to be very strategic the way in which we share or the which we make public this information. It's a political tool. In fact, these polls also determine the timing of the elections. So even though Peter would have pointed out that the ideal timeline would be between December and March, having done the polls and recognizing that we're in a good position to win, and we find them in a situation in which they're vulnerable, then we'll exploit the vulnerability.
That's a good politician would.